Hello, and welcome back to the podcast where you are invited for lighthearted conversations about things that matter as you seek to live your most meaningful, beautiful, and joyful life. I'm your host, Dr. Edie Wadsworth, and I hope you enjoy your stay here at the House of Joy. Hi, dear ones. Welcome back to House of Joy. We are on episode 279. This is the second part in our series of Becoming a Woman Who Leads Herself. I am loving this series, you guys. This topic is so powerful to me because, leadership is one of those things that gets tossed around a lot, that people talk about a lot. But I do truly believe that the sign of a leader is someone who has learned to lead themselves. So today we're going to talk about a part of that leadership, which is like the inner work that you need to do to become a woman who leads herself. And I want to start with a quote from the Laws of Divine Leadership training that I've been delivering to my Master Coach students. And it is this: your emotional range becomes your leadership ceiling. Your emotional range becomes your leadership ceiling. And I really do believe this. I want to tell you a quick story to start because we are just coming off an amazing, beautiful family weekend. And two of my daughters were here, Emmy and Katie. And I'm telling you, these girls they just have emotional capacity. They just have this emotional range that I'm talking about. And we were sitting on the porch. We like to call it a porch sit. Let's go have a porch sit. And the porch sit usually leads to deep conversations, sometimes really funny conversations. Sometimes we're laughing so hard we cry. Sometimes we're crying so hard we laugh. It's like truly a Steel Magnolias moment. But we got into a conversation about our house fire. And for those of you who don't know, by the way, in 2010, so 15 years ago, almost 15 years ago, we lost our house. Our house caught on fire in the middle of the night, or 3 days before Christmas. And Katie was 18 at the time. And Stevie and I got out of the house. I jumped out of a window. He crawled through the burning house to unlock the door, but we could not get upstairs to get our girls. And we were screaming for them. And we didn't know it, but Katie had already woken up. She already smelled smoke. And she was already trying to figure out how to get her and the girls down. And somehow she had the forethought to have the girls cover their faces. She carried Ellie and then kind of hovered over Emmy, got the girls downstairs. And it was just an incredible moment of grief and grace. And we've talked about it in the past, but I had never heard Katie talk about it in the capacity that she did. And she talked about her thoughts and what was going through her head and what she was thinking. And, she said, I really didn't panic, but she said it was just crazy because I looked out the window in the girls' room. Once I got out of my room, she said, I went into their room and shut the door. And because she said it was crazy because there was no smoke yet in their room. So she woke them up. They looked out the window. There was fire coming out the back of the house. So they weren't going to be able to go that way. And she wasn't sure if the stairway was safe. But she had the girls then, get their pillows. And she said, if you just hold your pillow close to your face, you'll be fine. You'll be able to breathe until we can get down. And gosh, at 18 years old, you guys, it was insane. And she starts telling the story. And we've talked about this so many times in the past, but she starts telling us this story. And Emmy and I start crying. Katie starts crying. Like, we just instantly go to this deep, vulnerable place together. And we just talked literally for hours. And then it was crazy because the next day we ended up having more chats and more talks. It was just so good. And I'm so thankful that my girls can do that. Like, they have this emotional range. They're so funny. You can be having an amazing, hilarious, funny time, laughing like crazy, and then they can just go deep. And I do believe that, especially as women, this is part of the gifts that God gives us, this capacity to have this range. And as I think about what it's like to be a woman who learns this and who learns how to hold more, it's like learning how to hold more truth, more emotion, more beauty, more joy, more grief, more discomfort, even. And to me, that equates to like what I think of as true leadership. And I think this capacity that we have as women, especially in the emotional realm, is such a gift. And I was teaching my master students about this too, that, you know, the work that we do when you're stepping into mastery requires way more than just skills. Like I can teach you the skills that it takes to become a really good coach, but you have to be willing to go there with yourself. And by go there, I mean, you know what I mean? Like go there. You have to, we talked about this last week. If you haven't listened to the podcast last week, where you have to be able to tell yourself the truth. You have to be able to say things that feel hard for you to say. And as Katie was telling this story, she talked about that. She said one of the amazing things that came out of the fire was, Stevie and Katie had kind of a difficult relationship over the years after the divorce from Katie's dad. And she said there was something about the fire and the way, I think, him being so grateful to her that they got out and that she helped the girls out. And she said, I just felt so loved by him. And she said it was kind of like this moment when I really forgave him and realized that I had played a part in this relationship not being what it should. Like she was so vulnerable, you guys. She was like just so full of grace. It just made me so thankful for her. And I think that this ability to do this is what really creates this deep connection that we can have with each other. And when you do this in your own life, when you're willing to do this in your own life, like I think of how this will translate for Katie, because as she does this in her own life, she is a mental health nurse practitioner. Like think of how that translates into how she can hold space for her clients. I think of how my coaches, how that translates into them being able to hold space for their clients as well. And your ability to be with your own hard emotions, to face truths in your own life that feel hard, to really expand your own range, is just such a powerful, thing to be able to do that goes way beyond, um, you know, what you're doing for yourself. It really, I think, opens this door to you having these amazing connections with other people, to be able to hold this presence for yourself and for others when things feel messy, when you feel uncomfortable, when it feels very vulnerable. I think is such a huge gift. And this kind of resilience, like I notice in myself building this over the years, and being willing to be with myself in the hard things, being willing to admit, I've told Katie many times before, like the things that I went through when they were young. I hadn't dealt with any of my issues. I hadn't dealt with any of my trauma. When my dad passed away is when kind of all of my stuff broke loose. And my kids were young then. They were like 5 and 7. And so being willing to be honest, like, oh my gosh, I made so many mistakes. And I'm so thankful to you guys for your forgiveness and for your grace. Like to be able to do that to me has been one of just an area that's opened up so much growth for me. And I think that being able to develop this range of emotions is so good for each of us, and this resilience, because when you do this, you become a woman who leads herself. You become a woman who can hold more. Again, more joy, more beauty, more grief, more emotion, more discomfort. And you're not carrying it alone, but you lead yourself. You because I couldn't ask my kids to do this if I wasn't willing to do this, right? And I just know that there's so much more out there for us when we're willing to do this. This episode of House of Joy is brought to you by Cozy Earth. Y'all, I have talked about it before, but I love this brand so much. If you've been looking for a sign to prioritize your sleep, this is it. You know how much I believe that great days start with better nights, and Cozy Earth has completely transformed my nighttime routine. Their pajamas, their robes are next level cozy. I'm talking buttery soft, breathable, temperature regulating magic that helps you fall asleep faster and actually stay asleep. I will say my progesterone is helping too, by the way. Let's start with the bamboo sheet set. Made from viscous bamboo, the softest, coolest, most luxurious sheets you'll ever own. And you guys know Emmy and I are in love with their PJs. We literally got matching sets. And not only do we feel so comfortable, but we look adorable. They're lightweight but cozy and truly just feel like a little luxury to give yourself every night. Here's the best part. They give you 100 nights to try it risk-free, plus a 10-year warranty on their bedding. That's how much they believe in their quality. So go ahead, prioritize your sleep and your sanity. They make it so easy to do. Just visit cozyearth.com and use my code HOJ at checkout for 40% off site-wide. And if you get a post-purchase survey, let them know you heard about it right here on the House of Joy podcast. Sleep better with Cozy Earth. Hey guys, I'm so excited that this episode is sponsored by Good Ranchers, a brand that I can fully get behind. I know you've noticed your grocery bill creeping up with tariffs, inflation, and rising costs. Feeding your family quality meat is more expensive than ever. So here's the question: why not protect your meals and your money? At goodranchers.com, you get 100% American meat that's tariff-proof, so you never have to worry about unstable prices again. Plus, Good Ranchers helps you save big. Their American-only supply chain shields you from price hikes. Their vacuum-sealed, pre-portioned cuts prevents freezer burn and food waste, saving the average family $500 a year. And their meat is pre-trimmed, so you're only paying for what you actually eat. More value, less waste. Here's the best part. Right now, you'll get $40 off your order and free meat for life when you subscribe. Yes, free bacon, ground beef, salmon, or seed oil-free nuggets in every box for as long as you stay. So don't wait. Go to goodranchers.com and use the code JOY at checkout. That's goodranchers.com, promo code JOY. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. To hold more doesn't mean, to work harder, but it just means what I mean by that is to just become more available emotionally, spiritually. It means to stop reacting so much to our emotions and start just holding space for them. It means not needing to control all these outcomes. Like, we were in deep conversations yesterday. I wasn't sure where any of this was going, but we were all in it and we were all willing to be right there in it and not needing to control the outcome, but just trusting that this vulnerability that we learn to have with ourselves and each other, just learning to trust in that. And I feel like, a lot of what I'm teaching my clients in my programs and a lot of what I'm teaching my coaches, I am teaching them a lot of tools, but I think really in the end, what it's building in them is this resilience and this emotional range and this emotional capacity so that they can become more comfortable with discomfort, more comfortable with truth telling, more comfortable with vulnerability, more comfortable with uncertainty, more comfortable with the full range of emotions that we have as humans. And that we don't feel this sort of, need to collapse under the weight of it. We don't feel a need to rush in and fix it. We don't feel a need to perform, but we just stay present. We lead from within. We remind ourselves, this is what it's like to be human. And I really do feel like that's what this emotional range or resilience really looks like in action. And, as I lead my clients through this, I see them do it all the time where, I notice that their emotional range is being stretched. I was coaching a client not too long ago through something that was really raw, through a grief where, she was carrying shame. I could feel it from her. And, in a lot of ways, as a coach, as a mentor, I kind of want to jump in and reassure. And, I have these tools where I can teach my clients to change their thoughts, to make things better. But I also know that as powerful as mindset work is and as powerful as our thoughts are, we do have to learn to be with these emotions. We do have to learn to stay with ourselves in the hard. And so I remember I was just taking some deep breaths. I was leading her through some deep breaths. I stayed grounded in the truth that no emotion is too hard, that emotions are waves of energy. And if we are willing to be with them and process through them, that they are going to make us stronger, that they're going to make us more truthful. And it was just interesting because although there's part of me that wants to run in and fix it when one of my kids has a difficult emotion or when one of my clients has a difficult emotion, I really, what I want to train them to do is you can just be with yourself right here where you are, that there's no need to rush in and fix it. And, you know, I think this has taken me a long time to learn because, again, I think our tendency is with our kids or with our spouse, we just want to try to find something quick that fixes it instead of expanding our own ability to be with an emotional range that can be in, you know, incredible joy and also deep grief. And I feel like this is part of leadership, that this inner work that we're doing, that's part of leadership that is so important. I think one of the ways that you learn how to do this is by receiving. And I do believe that this is, you know, a female quality that God gives us. We are receivers. If you look how we're made anatomically, we are literally created to be receivers. And for our capacity, you know, emotionally and physically to be stretched. And I feel like this feminine way of growing this, where we learn to receive, where we receive from God all his good gifts, where we realize that all of these emotions we feel, all of these things that are happening in our lives are happening for a reason. There's wisdom here, there's something to learn here. And being willing to be with ourselves in the hard thing instead of like disconnecting from ourselves or distancing ourselves, and really allowing that space, I think is so important. And I think that that is the posture of a woman who is learning to be a leader, first to herself and then to other people. It's like this posture of open hands, that I receive what I've been given, and I realize that I have so much power for how I interpret what I've been given, that I can see this all as a gift and I can receive it with gratitude. I can receive it, even the grief, you know, with joy, and realize that, you know, this is part of what it means to be human, and just surrender to that. And I think in that surrender, we learn how to really expand our emotional range, lead ourselves, and really do this inner work that gives us so much more resilience, that helps us really enjoy our lives so much more. And, you know, when we were chatting yesterday and having some, you know, really deep emotional chats, I will always practice, because this is, you know, this is new for me in the last 5 or 10 years. I will just practice like, it's okay to feel this really hard emotion. Let the grief out. I have gotten to the point anymore, you guys, where I'm like, it wants to come out, let it all out. Like, you know, I've told you guys before about this amazing therapy that Tom gets, that I got, you know, several times when I was working through the trauma from my past. It's called Splankna therapy, and it will bring up stuff where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that I was dealing with that. It's that kind of therapy is really good at finding things in your subconscious that are causing you issues that you're not even aware of. And I've gotten to the point anymore where I'm like, I'm not trying to hide it. I just want it all out. I want to expose all of these negative thoughts I'm having. I want to be with these negative emotions. Let's just let it all up to the surface. Whereas before, I would be resisting it. I would be pressing it down. I would be wanting to pretend I'm okay. And I just noticed that as my capacity grows in this way, I find that conversations like we had last night, I was saying to my master coach students, like, these were like legacy conversations. Like, these are conversations that I will remember forever. And this is something powerful that we can pass down to our kids when we can make ourselves comfortable in the discomfort, when we can hold these vulnerable or hard conversations and we can see how sacred they are. Um, I just have gotten so much out of it. I so enjoyed it. And I think as you keep showing up for yourself and as you keep being willing to say the thing that's hard, like we talked about last week, to admit to yourself things that maybe you haven't been willing to admit to yourself, do some journaling. I always find that when I have really hard things come up, the first thing that I've trained myself to do is, oh, I need to do some journaling on that, or I need to talk to my coach about that. I need to, you know, really think about this. I need to pray about this. I mean, I need to meditate on this. It's so interesting that my brain is committed to this story, that my life is hard, or that I don't have this emotional range, or that the emotions are too hard. And, you know, even being willing to say that out loud. And I think that, you know, becoming a woman who leads herself, who can hold more of this range, of emotions, of this range of life that we're given. I think this makes you so much deeper. I think it's so magnetic, people who can do this. Like, I was magnetized by my own daughters as they talked through these hard things that they had been through. And I think it makes us deeper, it makes us wider, it broadens our range, it broadens our experience. I think this is what makes us into leaders without us striving for it and trying so hard. And I think the other thing is that we become sort of this safe place, this sanctuary for other people to do that too. And what a powerful way to lead other people, not by thinking we know what's best for them. I teach my coaches this all the time. You don't know what's best for other people, but you can lead them in how to become this more resilient version of themselves. And I learned that as I do this for myself, I become a safe place for other people. I become a place where other people can truly be themselves, can truly say the truth. And I think that, life is not easy for any of us, but when we are willing to do this, we are able to just let those roots go down deep. We are able to build this kind of quiet power, this quiet resilience, this quiet self-leadership that is a ministry to other people, that other people are really drawn to. And I think that it can just so enrich our lives. It's really one of the things, as we were, having these powerful conversations, it's one of the things that I cherish most about my own mom, is that I told my girls, I said, I can remember when I was younger and I loved to just have like long, deep chats with my mom. And I remember that when I had kids, I'm like, oh, it's so sad because it doesn't feel like, we have a chance to have these chats anymore because, we're busy, we're taking care of the kids or whatever. And now I get to have that again with my own daughters. And I'm just so thankful for them. So thankful that for all the things they're teaching me about how to do this. But I really do believe that this inner work that we do creates an ability in us, not just, the emotional capacity, the emotional resilience, the mental resilience is amazing. But what I've noticed for myself is that this has led me to a productivity that I didn't realize I had, like the amount of stuff that I can get done now because I'm not spending so much of my energy, holding on to old emotions or, all of these ways that I think our energy can escape us. I'm not doing that anymore. So I feel like it has just made my life so much more productive. I feel like it has allowed me to build habits in my life that are really nourishing. It's allowed me to make a contribution in ways that I never imagined. So if you're someone who is like, gosh, I know that I have more gifts to give. I know that there's so much in me. There's so much potential in me that I haven't used yet. I think part of the reason that we feel stuck or we feel like we're not contributing in the highest ways is because of this, is because we haven't built this emotional range. We haven't led ourselves into this, because it can be hard and it can feel like, oh, I don't want to go there. If I go there, it's going to feel like opening up a can of worms that I don't want to open up. But I have just found that I just love to go open up all the cans of worms. I'm like, let's just open it all up. What else is down there that needs to come out so that I can live with so much more purpose and so much more clarity and so much more joy without holding on to things that I don't need to be holding on to. So if this resonates with you, I would love to invite you to get on our wait list for our coach training, our master coach training. Maybe if you're already a certified coach, just head over to edwadsworthcoaching.com/certification. We've got some amazing trainings coming up in the next few weeks that even if you don't even know if that's something that interests you, these trainings we'll take kind of these concepts that I've been teaching on the podcast and go deeper with them. The training that we did last week, you guys, I don't know if I've ever gotten more feedback on a training. People were emailing me and texting me and saying, oh my gosh, I think that was one of your most powerful trainings. And it was literally supposed to be a training that was like how to help people know if they're ready for coach training or master coach training. And it just turned out to be just such a powerful training altogether. So I'd love to invite you to that. I hope you have a great rest of your week. We're actually heading out to Des Moines, Iowa for our son Marcus's wedding. I can hardly wait, you guys. It is going to be such an amazing weekend. So follow along on Instagram. I'm sure I'll be sharing fun little pics from wedding weekend. But I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.